Hey, what's up? Coach Kyle here, and today I'm going to give you some running tips that I bet you've never heard. And my goal with this video is for you to get 2 or 3 actionable things that you can take away from watching this video and apply to your own running. And I hope that by doing so, you get a little tangible benefit out of it. And so I hope that you find this helpful. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Coach Kyle. I work primarily with plant-based distance runners all over the world, optimizing your running, strength work, nutrition, bringing it all together with great accountability and motivation without asking where you get your protein from. So if that sounds like your jam, check out my website. But let's get into these tips that I bet you've never heard.
If you've had problems with having to poop during that first mile, the first, couple miles, whatever, long run on the weekend, for example, and it's just like, you go out there and you're like, where am I gonna poop? Then I have something for you. And so I call it the poop loop. And what it is I do this on pretty much every really early run, especially long runs, where I wake up and I have a single cup of coffee, maybe a quick breakfast, and I just head out the door ASAP. I do a poop loop, and it's when I don't really give my body time to visit the bathroom before I leave for my run. What I do is I plan on doing a 1 mile loop, coming right back home and using the bathroom. Or I know that there is a porta potty 0.45 miles away from my house that's always out at the disc golf course. So as long as it's not Saturday, Sunday, and as long as it's not a Monday where I know that it's gonna be a little fresh from the weekend disc golfers, if it's a weekend morning, I will oftentimes just plan on using that porta potty. There's also always one at the track that's available. So I know that I plan on usually looping right back home, good to go after give me a mile and I'm gonna take a poop. And so usually that does the trick and I'm good to go for the rest of the run. So if you're having problems, figuring out, dealing with early, morning, early run pooping, try the poop loop. And this also works really well for events. So if you have like a 5K coming up or a marathon, go for a little 10-minute walk jog an hour or so before the race, and that will warm up your legs, which I think is great, but it also might get things moving inside and hopefully help you get that out before you get to the starting line. And we don't want to be at the starting line and have the national anthem going off and you're in the porta potty line. So going out for an early morning poop loop could be a good way to avoid that and have just a little better morning on race day or just during those long runs.
All right, here's one I bet you've never heard of, and it's for winter running. It's for the guys, and what I have figured out eventually, this took me a while, was that briefs are warmer than boxer briefs under your tights. They keep everything a little more snug up and in place, and on those really cold, especially cold, windy days, the boxer briefs are going to be a little better, in my experience, for keeping everything downstairs a little warmer. And so I have some kind of athletic-ish boxer briefs that I save for those colder, windy runs. And if you really want to bundle up, you can do a pair of briefs and then a pair of boxer briefs and then a pair of tights. And so that's just something to keep in mind for the guys that train outdoors in those cold and especially windy environments. Here's a cool tip for your track workouts, your tempo runs, and it is to somehow get other people around you for them. Now, the reasoning for this is that just because you can run faster in a race than you can in a regular training run, that is because your brain, in the presence of others, you can tolerate more discomfort, more pain, and it kind of lowers your level of perceived exertion. So you're able to run faster, run harder, but it doesn't feel necessarily harder. And so you can use this to your advantage by, for example, my once weekly workout, I have a buddy and we do our workouts together, and we're almost the exact same speed. And so having him with me for these workouts, I definitely can run a little quicker for these tempo type workouts with him there than I would be able to by myself. If you don't have a running friend you can coordinate this with, go to the track. And if there's anybody also just running around the track, doing some workouts at the track, you're gonna run a little quicker with them there than if the track were empty. And so those are just a couple little hacks you can use to take advantage of to get a little more speed out of your workouts.
So one of the most important and maybe unconventional running tips that maybe you've never heard is to don't give a shit about what other people think. I talk to a lot of runners, even a few people I coach, who they worry about what other people think about them when they see them out running. You know, do I not look like a runner? Am I too slow? Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, here I am filming a vlog and there's cars driving by and just don't care. Most people, they're so caught up in themselves that it doesn't matter, they don't care. And if they do care in a negative way, then go suck an egg. And hopefully they care in a positive way, like look at that guy vlogging, or look at that person out running, how cool. And you know, keep that in mind, is that if they care in a negative way, I don't think you should care. They probably don't care at all, and they might care in a positive way.
So here's a running tip I bet you've never heard, and it's these soft flasks right here. If you like using them, they're a little hard to wash, to keep dry, etc. Rinse them out, kind of dry them off as best you can, and then put them in the freezer. That way, even if you can't get all the liquid out of them, in the freezer, they're not going to kind of get moldy, and you can, you know, roll it up, keep it in tucked away in the freezer somewhere. Don't forget about it, but it will be waiting for you in there, clean, ready to go.
This next one is going to be really important if you're somebody who suffers from headaches after really long or hard efforts. And what I have found myself is that when you take in electrolytes before a run that you might sweat a bunch in, if that's maybe a summer run in the heat, or like me, a winter run in a super warm jacket, even if it's cold out, I'm still sweating a bunch. I'm still losing a lot of body fluid. And I was suffering from post-run headaches that would start about an hour after the run ended, and I would go to sleep with the headache, and once in a while I would wake up with that same headache. And what I found was that intra-run hydration or electrolytes or post-run didn't really solve the problem, but until I started taking in electrolytes before the run, 99% of the time it prevents those post-run headaches. And so it doesn't matter, in my experience, what supplement I use. I've tried a variety of pills and powders. They all worked relatively the same. I noticed no difference. And so any way that you can take in some electrolytes before you go out for those long or hard, really sweaty runs, if you're taking those, you might experience some decrease, or maybe a total decrease in that post-run headache. So give it a try. I think it's worth a shot.
All right, so maybe, I bet you've never heard of this, but toe socks. Maybe you've never even seen toe socks, or maybe you've seen that weird trail running hippie guy, you know, running in the Vibram barefoots, and they're wearing toe socks. Well, these are amazing. They are my go-to. And why would you want to use toe socks? Well, if you are getting blisters between your toes, these will almost all the time, almost every time, prevent those blisters happening from between your toes, because obviously they are letting your toes spread out a little more inside your shoe, but also they're offering a little bit of a layer of protection there. And so I initially tried these, and these are from Injinji. I initially tried these because I was getting blisters between my toes. I have a couple toes that sit really close together. After discovering toe socks, I've ran marathons, I've ran ultra marathons with no blister problems. And so if you're experiencing blisters, especially between your toes, check out some toe socks.
Final tip, don't eat your leftover hot curry for lunch before going for a trail run. Ooh, not good.